F. Bill de Blasio. Alright, gonna kick this off in a bit of a different way. Today I wrote a blog post and I'm gonna be reading it now, aloud, kind of a narration, and then I'll put pictures and videos of things that have happened as I talk about them in the background. That'll kind of replace this screen that we have going on right here. When we last left off, for real, not when I last updated my blog, I was crossing over into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So I drove from Grand Rapids up to St. Ignace, and then from St. Ignace, I drove to Marquette. Now, Marquette is on the very top of the peninsula by Lake Superior, and St. Ignace is kind of on the corner in between Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, yeah, just those two lakes. It's like on the border. That's where the bridge spans over. So St. Ignace is like this old fishing village. I've got a couple pictures of that here. They not much was going on there. I had to stay in a hotel. It's quite interesting. Yeah, kind of a small fishing village. Though I got a couple of good night shots as I was roaming around. What else was there? Marquette was far better. I loved Marquette. Marquette, it was like a storybook. I got to go on these amazing hikes. Holy shit. Stings the toes and bites the nose. I got some snow in my mouth. Holy shit. You can almost see the shoreline. Way up here. A few other crazy people out here today. And these trails, the leaves were all changing color, it was in full swing, absolutely beautiful. I've got a lot of video of me like driving through the leaves. That'll be a separate video probably. This one's just a long update, I guess. I was in State Center, Iowa. I made great friends with the bartender in that town. It was a 3,000 town, very small, almost a village. And I made friends with a bartender that was there because that was literally the only thing to do. And she was awesome. She gave me a fresh cut of steak from her cow, Betsy, I think. And this was State Center, Iowa. It's also called the Rose Capital. I got a little koozie as a take-home thing. And I fried that up in my nonstick pan, not the koozie, the steak. And it definitely has finally started to lose its non-stickiness, so it's being used 3 times a day over the last 3 months, so definitely time for a new one, I think. I don't think I included this in my update from the blog, but as I was driving from Chicago to State Center, there was a couple in front of me, and I saw their car immediately hit the brakes and slow down, and my cruise control kind of kicked in, and I just like gently cruised behind them, pulled over to the side of the road. I had a road kit, finally I had a chance to use it, and I started pulling out the road flares, checked on them. They were both in shock, gave them first aid. They were fine. Stayed with them until the state trooper came. They had hit a deer, completely totaling their car. I had ice in the car, actually, weirdly enough, and I ended up giving that to the guy. He broke his hand or something. And yeah, so you just really have to be safe of those things. So at that point, I had left State Center, and it had warmed up to about 70 during my stay, but when I got there, it was like 21 degrees. It was freezing. I then headed to Nebraska, Grand Island, Nebraska. It was so boring there. There was nothing to do, and the weather was terrible. It was snowing, it was windy. I left my place once to get groceries, and then just stayed inside for the whole week. Just worked and did stuff. Um, the lighting in the place was terrible, but I got to do a lot of cooking, which was fun, and watched a lot of movies and caught up on like some background blog stuff. So the first night that really made me want to stay inside for the rest of the trip, I went and got acclimated with the local bar, as one does, and I said, I'll take a red ale. It's kind of like my favorite one. It's a malty beer with hops added in. So it's kind of like a mix between like an IPA and like an amber. So like a red ale, pretty much. Pretty much the same thing. Red and amber, pretty much the same thing. So I said, can I get a red ale? He's like, sure. Which kind do you want? I'm like, oh, they've got a selection. I said, no, just give me any kind. He goes, this one's really popular. Okay. So he goes, grabs a glass, and fills it up. Immediately I know, masks on, COVID, definitely got the wrong beer. Starts pouring something. I look across, and I barely see something that looked like a J on, like jalapeno or something. So I'm like, a jalapeno red ale? Maybe. He fills it about halfway full, maybe about 75% of the way full, and then opens up a can of tomato juice and just pours it in. So, I said, do you guys normally pour tomato juice in your beers? And he said, no, but you said you wanted it red, so I made it red. And just kind of gives me the smile. I'm like, what? So, I mean, he didn't even rinse the glass. I'm at a brewery. I figure these people know beer, but I guess not. You can't assume anything these days. So, the strip's all about adventure, So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll drink this beer. I said, what is it? It's a jalapeno beer with tomato juice in it. Okay. Take a sip. Disgusting. Totally not what I was expecting. Maybe if I was like early in the morning looking for a Bloody Mary. That's a beer and a Bloody Mary. What do you call that? A bloody beer? A bearded lady? I don't know. I'm going to keep workshopping that name. I feel like Archer. And every time he comes up with a drink, he comes up with a name for it. Yeah, so if I was like early in the morning looking for one of those, I'd go for that. But definitely not good. I just said, give me a lager, whatever you have, chugged that, and walked home because I'd walked there. So I'm walking back home, and the wind is just 30 miles an hour, just crosswind. I'm leaning over, just trying to walk home for about 30 minutes. It was the worst experience I had, so I ended up just staying in the rest of the week. But then I got to drive to Denver, which was really fun. If I had thought that walking in the wind was wild, then I should have experienced driving in it, because on the way from Nebraska to Denver, completely flat land until you get to Colorado border. Once you get to the Colorado border, then it starts being hills. On the way there, it was a sustained 45 mile an hour winds and 80 mile an hour gusts. So my car was just like, I'm holding the wheel this way, and then on the 80 mile an hour gust, I'm yanking the wheel even further, trying to just get to where I'm going. Absolutely crazy. So I get to Denver. I'm there about 4 o'clock. Christopher, who had the Airbnb, hadn't got it open until the next day. So I get to Daniel's place. We're just going to hang out. He starts cooking. I bring over all the meat that I got from the butcher shop. And it was really, really cool. He couldn't get over how thoughtful it was. Oh, no one's ever brought me meat before, Anthony. That's awesome. So that was cool. We were cooking the whole night, and we ended up watching Midsummer, and I crashed on his couch. Very comfortable couch. Would crash again, and I actually do as we continue this summer. I had to park my car behind the 7-Eleven because his place doesn't have parking for guests, and we made chicken and rice, which was awesome. I brought over peanut butter whiskey too, which I had tried in State Center, and he didn't like it, so... There was blackberry whiskey, though. So I thought, man, if we get peanut butter whiskey and blackberry whiskey together, it's a match made in heaven. It's take 2 of those shots, and that's like a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Maybe not, but it was freezing that first night. It warmed up. Today, as I'm recording this, it's like 21 degrees, so it's gotten back down again. The last couple of days were awesome. Now it's freezing. So this was Saturday the 14th. Sunday the 15th, we took his dog Annex out for a walk. Super long walk. We got to go around the city. We saw the riverbed. We saw different parts of the city. We saw breweries and old vestiges of the town, people who didn't want to sell their houses. It was this awesome mix in the River North Art District where we're staying. Pretty interesting things going on here. So if you've never been to Denver, it's kind of like you can't throw a rock without hitting 2 microbreweries, a dispensary, and a tent. There's quite a bit of homeless people in Denver. I think maybe not the worst in the nation, but it's definitely up there. Um, the city's helping out as much as they can, I think, and it's just such an awful problem that has no clear solution, and there's no like one solution that's going to work for everybody because everybody's different. Everyone's different situations. There's some people that are kind. Dan was telling me they're kind of like ingrained into the town. You always see them. You know since he's gotten here 3 years ago, they've kind of been here. And then there's other people who you see them for a day and then you never see them again, and they get back on their feet after a week or so. So at this point, we're walking Annex around, and we get to this dog park that used to be a fire station that they tore down and created a little city park. They had swings and this huge grass area, and we let Annex off the leash, and he was running around, he was making friends with everybody. It was very cute. He's a very cute dog, but he's so hyper, so we had to like really run him down until he calmed down. Daniel always jokes that his name is Annex, but he should be called Xanax because that's what he needs to be on. The dog is a very nervous dog, but he's a cutie. He's a little like uh, half Maltese runt or something. He's so small. We take the dog back. We go for mimosas. They were advertising their chicken or something. It was horrible. You always, whenever you go to a restaurant, they're like, "Try this. We're known for this. It's our best thing." And it's like average. Like the chicken we had the night before was amazing, but this one was meh. So at this point, it's Sunday. We're waiting for Christopher to come in so we can check into the Airbnb, which opens at 4. So it's like 2 at this point. We go for beers. Um, we come back afterwards. Christopher gets in. We go for pizza and more beer at this place called Ironton. And on my drive over, I had stopped at a restaurant, and I'm talking to this lady across from me, and I said, "Hey, have you ever been to Denver? I'm going. There's anything I should check out?" She said, "You got to check out Ironton." We went there and we got free whiskey. So I'm like, "Hey, I know the people from this blog called Wine Whiskey Whatever on Facebook. They told me to come here." And they're like, "Cool," and then they left. So no free whiskey or anything like that. So bummer on that. As we were trying to leave Ironton, these 2 women come up to us that are completely blacked out, and her friend drops this girl off at the table with us and says, "I'm going to the bathroom," and walks away and leaves. What followed was probably the most uncomfortable 30 minutes of my life as we're trying to parlay with this drunk woman who keeps repeating the same things over and over again. The 3 things she kept repeating was she was from New York, she lived on 7th and B near Manhattan, and F. Bill de Blasio apparently was the only thing that she kept saying, slamming the table, standing up. She was super excited that we were living in Denver now, but we weren't. We just were visiting. So, Heather, if you're out there, we love you. We care about you. We hope you stumbled home safely. And yes, much funnier afterwards than during. During was super uncomfortable. The next day was a Monday. It was a work day. Took a while to get settled in. Got my oil changed. Played soccer in the park with Christopher after work. And then what might have been the last D&D session. So now I've got a big backlog of stuff and possibly some time to go through it. So Tony, our pinch hitter, got a job in the city. So he'll be working nights and all throughout the week. So no one's available on the weekends. We'll see how it goes. The next day was Tuesday. We went out in the middle of nowhere because Monday night into Tuesday morning there was a meteor storm called the Leonid meteor storm. We went stargazing and stargazing. Saw many familiar constellations like Orion, but also got to see a lot of planets like Jupiter, Mars, and Venus. I'm pretty sure I saw Neptune at one point, but I didn't want to point it out in case I was wrong. The wind was really high in the middle of nowhere, and that was the best place to go for light pollution. And we're like on some farmer's property, and there's these power lines going overhead. And as the wind's going around the power lines, the tension's so high, they're vibrating and they're singing almost like the tension in the power lines. So they made this horrible, scary noise. You couldn't see anything. It was completely dark. And I thought the scary monsters were going to come get us. But I couldn't stop like looking up and just going like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." It's because it was like so intense. The amount of light was so intense. Next couple days were work. On Thursday, Daniel came over. We made spaghetti and meatballs, and for Christopher, we made these like pea protein soy meatballs, which were actually really like better than the ones that we made out of meat. Um, but we made our own sauce, which was awesome, super fun, and we're just cooking and listening to music. It was awesome. Like if that's what Thanksgiving is gonna be like here, then like that was like a little appetizer precursor to Thanksgiving. Um, we used mushroom and spinach in the sauce, so it came out like really brown and orange. And I don't want to really show pictures of that, but it was like trust me, it was amazing. Like half of cooking is the visual presentation, and the other half is the smell, and the third half is like how it tastes. So I'll even get those three halves working together. But the taste was amazing. I'll tell you that much. So in preface to my vacation, I had to get a bunch of work done. I don't even want to talk about it because now I'm on vacation. Everything's fine. And alas, finally, I'm a free man. Finished all the work. I got my vacation approved. I got the whole week off. It's gonna be amazing. That night, we cooked at Daniel's place. We made mushroom risotto and asparagus salad for Christopher, and chicken and the mushroom risotto for me and Daniel and Jasmine. That was a great meal. And count on the fact that I woken up at 4 or 5 that morning, started working, and didn't stop, and didn't have anything to eat until we cooked at Daniel's place. So as soon as I finished eating, I sat on the couch. We started watching Django, and I immediately passed out and was unable to be woken up the rest of the night. So we ended up sleeping over at Daniel's place again. My bad. The next morning, which was yesterday, we woke up, went back to the place. I made steak and eggs, and we went out to Golden. First thing we did was we went to the lookout, which was awesome. Took some photos, and got yelled at by this old dude for jumping over the fence to take a picture. Because who wants the fence in the photo of the picture that you take? Um, I took some good photos. Christopher took some good photos. He started yelling at us, and we're like, just waved. And then the worst part was he was screaming obscenities at us, and he had his toddler on his back. Like, you really shouldn't. Like, who's setting the worst example? Me for jumping over a fence, or you for teaching your toddler curse words? Whatever. Not my problem. We went after the lookout. We went up to Lichen Peak and the North Table Plateau, and we got to climb a mountain, which was super fun, sort of. Afterwards, yeah, it was fun. During the hike, though, the incline to get up there was like 45 degrees up the mountain. Okay, closer to like 20 or 30, maybe. But for my purposes, I'm going to say it was a 30-mile hike up an incline to 30 degrees. But, okay, probably closer to like half a mile. uh, Something sharp stabbed my foot. The mountain started getting crowded. So yeah, I had our masks up. But at a certain point, we got to this one area, we veer off, and Christopher just like goes, I'm gonna go that way. And it looks like the footing is about this narrow. And it's only for rock climbers. This one peak goes, it's got, you can see the metal carabiners, metal poles with the carabiners all sticking out everywhere. He's like, I'm just gonna go. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, so I got the video of him like crossing, or like, be safe.
Yeah, does not break his concentration. Be careful.
Don't do it. End up going over there eventually, and it is that thin. Like, it was that scary. And there was one point where, in order to get to go around the loop, because there was like this crater and then the loop. In order to get around, you'd have to like jump down onto that narrow platform and then jump back up onto another narrow platform. We decided against that. So definitely Daniel and I did. Christopher decided against it too. So we it's some pictures of him floating in midair, trying to explain to us about how to jump from one side to the other. Definitely didn't want to do that. We come back to the main area after hiking down that one portion, and we see the actual peak is way up top. Um, and that's where I got my foot stabbed. We went all the way to the top, and then we climbed the rocks on top of the peak, and got to sit up on top of the rocks there. and look out, and that was just amazing. It was crazy. It was great views, and just kind of sat up there for about 35 minutes, or felt like it was maybe like 10 minutes, but it felt like a long time just sitting and watching. And we heard groundhogs from all the way up there. The sound carries different. You could hear a lot of stuff. I'm definitely not as sore as I thought I would be, um, but I did sleep in a bit today. Afterwards, we got pizza, and then we were just kind of tired at that point and came back home, called it a night. So, yeah, that pretty much concludes my summary, and hopefully I can add in some photos of things. And the trip down Golden from the lookout was awesome. That whole yesterday was pretty fun, and hopefully I can start recording more of these now that I'm on vacation, and start putting like little summaries instead of big summaries.